So warriorship through self-inquiry, using both the sword and the mirror. Who am I and who am I not? And can we use the sword to sever the untrue aspects of ourselves? For example, we are not the mistakes that we have made in our lifetime. We are not the construct of someone else's opinion of us. We are not our negative thoughts that we have about ourselves from time to time. And we are also not only our bodies, our aging bodies, our egoic self. We are bigger than that. So the story of Virabhada in the Vihabhasana series, the warrior series, the story of this famous warrior is full of many, many emotional emotions that we experience all the time. There's anger, there's rage, there's grief, there's sadness, there's repentance, there's reparation. And all of this, I think, all of these emotions, are included in being a warrior. So, like all classic warrior stories, it's ultimately about the struggle between the higher self, Atman, higher self, ultimate truth, and the ego. So inner work is not easy, and we've all been doing a lot of that, especially as we've been sort of isolated in our own smaller spaces, not being out as much with the pandemic, and being asked or being sort of inspired, I think, to do inner work with some of the unrest in the world. But when we extend compassion towards ourselves in that inner work, then I think we can allow the more harmful or darker sides of who we are to surrender and sort of be relinquished in their control. And we can do that for ourselves, then we're able to do that with other people as well. Today, the invitation, as we move through, we're going to look at 5 different warrior poses. I think maybe 6, but 5 for sure. And as we do that, I'll cue some of the physical aspects. But my invitation to you is to identify what emotions come up for you in the different warrior postures. What sort of emotional content would you, or mental emotional content would you attach to each of the warrior postures? All right, so let's come onto our backs. Have your block. If you have 2 blocks, you could set one on either end of your mat, and then have your strap over by your mat as well. Get my down jacket off. So come onto your back, take your arms out in the T position, bend through the knees. We're just gonna do some sort of really big flare, sort of flowery movement here. So you'll bring your knees into your chest, roll over to one side, bringing the hands together, and then sweep that top arm up and open as you roll to the other side, bringing the other arm up and over, and then open the legs, sweep that top arm up and over, and move my things out of the way here, and just move back and forth this way. And there's no really right way, just really opening through your hips and pelvis, opening through the shoulders a bit as you take up the whole space that you're in. And if this doesn't work because your space is a little smaller, you could just keep the arms in close and move back and forth, maybe hands at prayer. So you do feel your core engaged a bit as you're moving back and forth here. And then coming back to the center with the arms back out in the T, just stack your knees again sort of over your chest, and just take your knees around in some circles, pressing into your low back, and then reaching the knees away. And if you can, without the hands on the knees here, so you're just using your core. And then at some point, reversing the direction. And then you can take the soles of your feet to the floor, and then just a few pelvic tilts here. So on the inhale, draw your pubic bone away from your navel and lengthen the space between pubic bone and navel, and then exhale, press your low back into the floor, draw your pubic bone back towards your navel. So pelvic tilting here. And you can make this a pretty big movement now. So as you take the pubic bone away from the navel, really arch your back away from the floor. And then as you press into the floor and draw your pubic bone towards your navel, you might even pick your knees up and bring your knees in over your chest. So you're articulating the lower spine, the pelvis. And then we'll bring our feet back to the floor, and you take your hands to your belly, one on the upper belly just above the belly button and one just below. And on your inhale, feel the natural movement of your belly rising. And on your exhale, feel like you're zippering up from your pubic bone to your navel, zipping up a zipper as you draw your navel up and in. Inhale. Exhale, feel that zippering action from pubic bone to navel. So really feeling engagement in the core. The core is really important for our self-esteem, our confidence in being warriors, and in supporting the standing postures. You might also think of a corset action, so hip pointers as you exhale, hip points come closer to one another, and there's a squeezing in of the side waist, the obliques. So either one of those images for you that allows you to really feel this contraction in the core. This is my very first practice in the morning, just breathing and feeling my core come online. I don't even get out of bed. I just wake up and do this practice. Really helps especially if I wake up and my mind is spinning with all sorts of thoughts. I just practice this breathing. Now take your hands behind your head, interlace your hands at the back of your head, and pick your knees up off the floor. Now inhale here, and on your exhale, lift your head and shoulders and straighten your legs out. Inhale the knees in, exhale the knees out. Inhale the knees in, and exhale the knees out. Okay, so you could continue this little pattern here, really feeling the core engaging, We're warming up the knees a little bit, but you could also make this a little bit more challenging by bringing the knees in and then rolling to one hip and extending legs out. Inhale back to center, roll to the other hip, extend the legs out. Come back to center, inhale, exhale, extend the legs up. Inhale and exhale. And then rest your head back to the mat, extend your legs up towards the ceiling, rotate through your ankles. So making circles with your feet in one direction and then the other. Our feet also, ankles, very important in standing postures. We use a lot of the little muscles of our feet. So now press the soles of your feet towards the ceiling. Inhale here, exhale, just try, you can release your hands down to the side. Just try to press your feet up towards the ceiling and feel the engagement of your lower abdomen. Release. And then press your feet straight up towards the ceiling. So it's not a rocking back towards you, but a pressing of the soles of your feet. And then release. And one more time, making sure you're pressing through the big toe side and the pinky toe side of your feet evenly. Good. And then just bend and extend through the knees. And then taking your legs back down to the floor. And if you've shifted, you might come to the middle of your mat and take your legs into a big, wide V shape. So you'll be outside the edges of your mat. And then spin both toes to the left, both sets of toes to the left, and then spin to the right. So one leg will come into internal rotation, the other into external rotation as you move back and forth here. The leg coming into internal rotation, that hip is going to lift off the floor slightly. Okay, so you're up flaring the hip as you rotate the legs. So in many of our standing postures, we have one leg in external rotation and one leg in internal rotation. The next time your feet turn to the left, right leg is in internal rotation, slide your left foot up towards your hip. And then take that leg back down, come through center, rotate the feet to the right. Now the left leg's in internal rotation. Slide your right foot up towards your hip or towards your sitting bones. And then reach that leg back out. Take the feet over to the left. Slide the left knee up, left foot up, back down. Turn the feet to the right. Slide the right foot up. Just a couple times on your own, at your own pace. And then coming back to center, bring your feet into Tadasana. So the toes pull back towards the shins. And then we'll just take one leg up, straight up towards the ceiling. Okay, and you can leave your arms alongside your body, or you could bring your arms back behind you. Notice whether you really borrow from the low back to do this, and draw your navel in. Draw your navel up and in like you're upstroking with a paintbrush. So this is warrior 3. one of the harder standing poses. So really press equally through both feet. Feel your hips even on the floor. And then bend the right leg, release the arms down to the side, and then we'll press through both feet again. Find that Tadasana, that solid Tadasana stance, and then either bend your leg or just reach straight up with the left leg. Press the sole of the left foot to the ceiling. Press the right foot away. So equal pressing in both legs with equal weight on the pelvis. So the pelvis, you feel both sides of your pelvis really engaged against the floor. So doing this on the floor really allows us to feel what this can feel like when we're standing. Now, upstroke your navel, really contract at the core, and then you could reach your hands over your head. Okay. Really feel the engagement here. What are you bringing into this pose? And this could be where you could work quite a long time just on the floor with this Warrior 3 pose. Good release. And then if you have a belt, we're going to do that same thing with the belt. If you don't have a belt, you could just do it again without the belt. But I'm going to take the buckle to my right hand. I'm going to bring my right foot through the big loop, my right leg through the loop, and then take the end of the belt around my left leg. Sorry, that's not what I wanted to do. All right, we're not working with the belt. We're gonna do it standing up, but I can't figure it out lying down right now. So just come back to the Tadasana. Take a couple of breaths here. And then we'll bend through the knees, drop the knees over to one side and just open up use the clamshell method here, just flaring up of the top knee, feet stay together, and just work that upper hip flexor, buttocks, glutes right here, and then take a stretch of your quad. And then roll to the other side. Same thing, just exciting those muscles, just really firing up the muscles in the glutes, outer hip, piriformis. And then you can take a quad stretch here. And then press yourself up to sitting and take one of your blocks. And you'll take one of your blocks and set in hero's pose if that works for you. So you'll have the block set up in its longest possibility there. It's on its shortest setting and its longest, and you have your whole sacrum, your whole pelvis, both sides of your sitting bones resting on the block here. And we'll open up the shoulders. So inhale, sweeping up and just coming through center. And just at your own pace, feeling for a little external rotation as you lift the arms up, letting the shoulder blades glide up with the lifting of your arms, but keeping space in your neck. And then when next time your hands come to heart center, open up through your chest and round and bring your hands together, back to center, open up and round. It's almost like you're doing a cat-cow here. So even though we're working with standing postures, the upper body, we'll be asking our upper body to also open up, the heart to open up in many of these postures. And then from here, and I'll just turn sideways now, you can have your strap. You're going to take your strap, and you can just keep that big loop in it, but you'll take the strap and let it hang down your back. So top hand is right behind the head, and the palm of that hand in towards your head. And then your bottom hand will come around to the strap, and you'll take the palm, face it out, and you could have any kind of strap here for this. It wouldn't have to be a connecting strap. And then you're just going to tug slightly on the strap, try to break it apart. Now, if you can, notice whether you get an excessive arch in your low back. And can you draw the tailbone down like you're going to plug right into the block, lift through the crown of your head, and really feel for length through your back. And a little tug on the strap, maybe 40% or so of your total effort here. And then release. And then just flip everything so you can do the other side. Might have to play with your strap a little bit to make sure you have the both ends. And then again, really tug on the strap, but lengthen through your spine. So you're not getting an excessive back bend here, but you're keeping the lower back lengthening, the lower spine lengthening. Good. Now take the strap and set it aside, and you can just roll out the shoulders a little bit, but we're going to go back to that first side without the strap. So I'm going to bring my top hand up, and it's like I'm going to pat myself in the back. So my top hand palm faces in, bottom hand comes around and reaches for the top hand, but see if you can do this without letting your hands touch your body. Now, if you really, really overarch in the back, can you lengthen lower spine? Ooh, pretty hard on the bottom hand, yeah? Release, and we'll try the other side. So flip the bottom hand to become the top hand, palm is facing in, and then turn the bottom hand, palm out. And attempt, maybe you can get your fingers together. It doesn't matter if you can, really. I really just want you to keep your hands off your back. And release. Now, set the block back up to the top of your mat. Bring your ankles together, heels together, and come to sitting on your feet. So opening up the top of the feet. And here we'll just do a few cat-cows. So on the inhale, you'll open, arch through the spine, and on the exhale, round and take your arms around your back. Inhale and exhale. And this could be quite painful on your feet, depending on how open the tops of your feet are, tops of your ankles. So if it's too much, you could go back to sitting on the block in Virasana. Good, and then we'll come forward. Now turn the toes under. So now you'll turn the toes under and see if you can get as many toes turned under as possible. Now you might have to put a block. See, this is the harder side for me. The bottoms of my feet are so tight. You might have to put a block between your sit bones and your ankles, or you might be able to sit right back on them. And then now let's inhale and open up this way. So arms out to the side, and then exhale round, bring your hands together in front, just like we did sitting. Inhale and exhale. All right. And you can maybe test the fire a little bit. If you had a block in there, maybe you can try going. I used to not be able to even do this, so I'm definitely have improved by this little practice. Then come forward. You can take the tops of your feet to the floor. Just pound it out there a little bit. Good. And then come up onto your knees. And take your weight, you want to be about in the center of your mat. Put your weight in one knee, bring the opposite knee forward, and then just move back and forth. So working in the hip flexor and the hamstring, the front knee, just getting some movement there. And then switching. And you might notice, as I am right now, that you have a little bit more stickiness on one side than the other. Good. And then from that position, let's just turn the back toes under and step up into the crescent lunge. Good. And then step forward. So you're at the front of your mat. Hopefully you have a block here. We'll do a few half suns. Just gonna get myself more in the frame. So here in the forward fold, inhale and reach your crown away from the sacrum. Length through the back and exhale, fold. Keep a deep bend in your knees as you inhale and sweep your arms up. And exhale, hands come through heart center. Inhale, sweep the arms up, and exhale, fold. Inhale to halfway lift, and exhale, fold. Do a few just like that on your own. Rearrange my mat so I'm in the frame. Just continuing a few half suns. All right. And then we'll meet at the top of your mat in Tadasana. Okay, so we're going to go into Virabhadrasana 1 first. And I'm going to call this warrior pose, take up some space. Take up some space. So just sit slightly back into your heels, bending your knees, and take your weight into your right foot and step your left foot back. Okay, and then heel toe the right foot out a little bit and heel toe the left foot out a little bit. So you're pretty much got the whole mat here in your warrior 1. All right, and then bend through the back knee, pretty deeply through the back knee. Plant the back heel, re-straighten the back leg. Now, if you feel like you can even extend a little further lengthwise, you can take the front foot a little bit more forward. Good. Now feel the length through your spine. Interlace your hands at your chest. Reach your hands up towards the ceiling. Pressing the palms up towards the ceiling. Bring that same intensity that we did on the floor to the core area. So gather in the sides and upstroke the navel and lengthen through your back. So it's not an overly back bending posture. You might take your gaze up to your hands. And in this warrior one, then the inquiry is, the self-inquiry is, what comes up for you here? What sort of bubbles up mentally, emotionally as you hold? And this is a posture we do a lot. So maybe what comes up for you is la-di-da-da. I've done this a whole bunch of times, pretty easy. Good. Bring your hands to your hips and step your feet forward back into Tadasana. Good. All right, now we'll take the other side. So just bend a little bit and bring the other foot back. And again, playing around with using the whole width of your mat and having your space your stance be a little bit longer. So again, we're going to call this one taking up space. Bend through the back knee and drive the back heel down. There we go. And then re-straighten the back leg. And then inhale, sweep the arms up, interlace your fingers, releasing the index finger. Now, as you work this posture, have a look at your front knee. Front knee lined up over the second and third toe. Really draw the navel in so you keep length in your back body, so you're not in an excessive arching of the low back. Maybe your gaze is up to your hands. You can still do a back bend, but keep the length in the back body by really drawing the navel up and in. Okay, now from this warrior one, this side, we'll go back to the other side in a minute, but now we're going to go into Baddha Virabhadrasana, which is the humble warrior. And we're going to interlace our hands at our back and bow to the inside of the front leg. Okay? Lots of variations. I'm going to give you several variations here. I guess not lots, but several. If you have a block here, bring your block to the inside of your foot on any level and take your hands to your block. Keep length through your back as you fold into this humble warrior. So we're going to say of this one, the word humble comes from a Latin word that's of the earth, humus, of the earth. So of the earth. So there's this humility in this warrior pose. So you could have your hands on a block here. And if it doesn't work, it's quite a bit of work to have the front leg bent. You could be a little bit more like a pyramid shape with the front leg straight. See if you can keep the back long, back body long. If you do have your hands interlaced at your sacrum, you might try with the block again on any level, taking your forehead to the block. You're reaching your arms off your back. Quite a hard posture for something that is more of a kind of a surrendering posture. And wherever you are, you could have your hands help you stand back up and step back to the top of your mat so we can go to the other side. Come to Tadasana, just take a few breaths here to settle. And then we'll go back to the first side. So weight into the right leg, step the left leg back. From your Vira 1, re-bend the back leg, tack that heel down, re-straighten the back leg. And then wherever you're going to be, you might have hands on hips. You might have them interlaced at your back. If you've got the blocks, any level here, to come into the fold. You could start with a block, then maybe bring your hands inside the front foot. You might have to heel toe that front foot out a little bit. Keeping length through your back. Really feel the stability in your footing. Balance in your hips. Now hips are an emotional center. So what comes up here in this Baddha Virabhadrasana? Draw the navel in, round, let your back round a bit again. And then inhale and reach the crown long. You could go back and forth with that movement, a little like a little cat-cow. And then bring your feet together. Scoot your block out of the way. In a forward fold, bend through the knees. Inhale to halfway lift. Exhale to fold. Inhale, sweep the arms up. And exhale, rest your hands to your heart center. Take a few moments as you release your hands down to your sides, palms forward. Just take a few moments to settle in the Tadasana. Great. And then from here, we'll open up to a wide stance along the long edge of the mat as we get ready to move into Virabhadrasana 2. So Virabhadrasana 2, and you know, the warrior postures, they're in almost every yoga practice, right? So we really put a lot of value in this being a warrior and how we're going to show up as a warrior. So we're going to turn the one foot out and line up that foot with the short edge of our mat, and we're going to turn the other heel out. The back heel turns out, and the relationship of your feet, you can play with that. You can have it be like a tightrope kind of thing where you're heel to heel, heel to arch, or you could open up and use the whole width of your mat again. But again, looking at the front knee and tracking your front knee over the second and third toe. Let's just vinyasa a little bit here with the front knee. You could add the arms as you come up and you release down. And this next time we land, what I'm going to say about Warrior 2 is remember what is out of sight. Remember what is out of sight. So that's the back hand and the back foot. So you could bend through the back leg again, recommit the back heel, and reach through the back hand. Reach through the back hand. Okay, a couple other cues here. All right, just physical cues. Make sure that you don't have your fingers pointed up towards the ceiling, but the fingers are releasing or reaching straight out. There's a little bit of external rotation in the upper arm. So you should feel like your shoulder blades are sort of drawing down and in. You could flip just the hands and receive the posture. And then check behind, check in front, and see if you can line your arms up in the same plane, right? So the same plane, same distance from the floor. You know, one's not in the back body, one's not in the front body. You could turn the palms back down. And then let's come back, straighten the front leg. We'll just turn everything to the other side. And again, start with lining up your feet. You can vinyasa that front knee a little bit. Add the arms. One side might be stickier than the other. You might have an injury. And then when you land in the warrior two, remember what is out of sight. So that tends to be the back hand. And if we bend through the back knee and reattach that back heel, the outer back heel to the floor, then you could check your arms, make sure they're in the same plane. So metaphorically, right, we want to have some vision about what has come before, what is out of sight, what, our history, the warriors that have gone before us. You could press your hands into an imaginary wall, really engaging the triceps. What comes up for you here? Gaze over the front hand, or you could gaze over the back hand. And then press into your feet, straighten your front leg, turn your feet to face each other, line up parallel with each other, line up parallel with the short edge of your mat. And we're going to go back to the first side, and we're going to practice now the reverse warrior, right? Viparita Virabhadrasana. So often, if we turn the first foot out again, and the back heel, and we set up the legs first. So often this warrior pose is just a means to an end. So can it be more than a means to an end for you? This is a nice, intense side body stretch. So come deep into your front knee, and inhale your arms out, so you're back into the warrior two position. And then reach that front hand sort of up and out. So you're really opening side body. And then as you slide your back hand down your back leg, open up through the side body and turn your palm down to the floor. And we'll call this opening to the world. Maybe your gaze can come to your upper inner arm. Maybe just straight ahead, keeping the neck long. Maybe you can go deeper into the front leg. And press yourself up. Turn your feet. Take a minute in this wide stance to settle. And then we'll turn and do the other side. So again, practice taking up a little bit more space if your tendency is to keep your standing postures quite short. See if you can take a little bit more space. We'll come into the front knee again. Rebend the back leg and reestablish the back heel. So this back foot's turned out slightly, right? And you really want to anchor that back heel. And then with the warrior two position, we sort of reach the front arm. You could turn the palm if you wanted to, but I like to kind of reach my arm up, 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 up. So I get this length in the side body and then open up into the Viparita Virabhadrasana. What's the emotion that comes up here for you? Maybe you come deeper into the front leg. And then pressing up, turning the feet. And we'll come here now, just a little bit shorter stance, and let your hips get a little freedom Move around. We'll come into a fold here. Just opening the back of your legs. Bring your weight into the front of your feet a little bit and feel a nice stretch in your hamstrings. Pelvis tilted a little bit forward, so pubic bone, drawing pubic bone away from navel. And then we'll heel toe the feet together. And inhale, halfway lift. And exhale, fold. Inhale, halfway lift. And exhale, fold. Press into your feet, sweep your arms up. Exhale, hands through heart center. And rest your hands to your hips. Okay. Now Virabhadrasana 3. And I'm going to call Virabhadrasana 3, shoot your energy out through hands and feet. So I'll show you several variations for this. This pose tends to be pretty difficult. So we'll start in Warrior 1. So just bend through your knees a bit and take one foot back, set up in Warrior 1 again with the front leg bent. So I kind of have a short Warrior 1 stance here. And I'm going to keep my front leg bent as I lean my body forward. And then I want to really feel, so front leg bent, I really feel the engagement of my outer glute as I straighten the front leg and lift the back leg, any amount, hands to hips, okay? Now, one variation, okay? So now if you have your block, okay, you could come in the same way. So as you straighten the front leg, lift the back leg, and rest your hands on your block. Really working the legs in this posture. So squaring hips to the floor and pressing, remember we did this on the floor, pressing one foot into the floor and the other foot strongly away. And eventually you'd add the arms. Okay, you can release the top foot and press up to standing. And I'm just going to show you what I realize, when we practice at home, is that we often don't have some of the space that we might be able to use, some good space. So if you have a chair is really great. I don't have a chair that I can use the folding chair, top of the chair, but I have this cupboard, so I'm just getting creative here with my space. A chair is really nice for Vira 3 because you can lean on the top edge of the chair. But I have this cupboard. I'm just going to show you, and if you can imagine that what I'm going to put my arms on is the top of a folding chair, or the top of a lazy boy chair, whatever you have in your home. And I'm going to come into the Tadasana stance and bring my arms forward and rest them on this ledge here. And then I'm going to press into my standing leg and lift my back leg. And I can really work the legs here without having to do a lot of balance. This cupboard that I'm in has kind of 2 layers, so I might put my hands down a bit. And then I can practice bringing one hand to heart center. Maybe I can do 2, maybe. Anyway, it's fun to just play around with what you've got in your home that you could work with, okay? Okay, back to one more variation. And this is where we're going to use the belt. So you want your belt and a block, most likely. And you could go to the other side now for this. So I'm going to step through with my right leg, or whatever your second leg you need to work on. Step through with that leg, and then take the ball of my foot into the strap. I want the buckle of my strap, and you could do this resting on the back of a chair. I'm going to use the block. As I straighten through my back leg, and straighten through my front leg, I can use the block so it's a little bouncy to get into it, but it really aligns your legs up. And then I could see if there's a possibility of bringing my hands. I might let my back leg dip, front leg bent a little bit, bringing my hands to heart center, shooting my energy out through hands and feet. And clearly, it's a lot of work. It's a lot of work. So we can start small. We don't have to save the world, as someone was reminding us of the other day, but we can start small in our practice. Good, and you could come out of that and try the other side. Again, I step through with my front foot, so the buckle's on the side of my hip here. And then, for me, it's a little bit easier to just get the balance part to be non-existent by coming down to my block, lifting and pressing through my back foot. So the strap is pulling on this front leg, pulling that hip back and around, and I press through the back foot any amount. And if you want to try coming up, just make sure you have a safe space to fall over, any amount. And then releasing, coming out of the belt. You could do a vinyasa to come back down to the floor. I'm just going to drop to the floor. And here, take a little rocking. Come back to that first big opening movement where I'm just sort of almost like free-forming, just moving from side to side, shoulders, hips moving, kind of letting everything have just a little bit of a freedom of movement. And then I'll come back to center and take a figure four on one side, releasing through my hips. So really let your hips settle back down to the floor. And switching up other side, let your hips really settle to the floor, settle to the ground. Even though we just spent a few really minutes in each posture, it's quite a bit of work in the legs. So what shows up for you when you're called to be a warrior? You could take some windshield wiper here or happy baby and just start to come down to the Shavasana pose. Just letting that work integrate into your body, into your being. Whatever else you might need before you settle. And when you do finally come to Shavasana, can you let everything go? Just let all your effort go. Part of the reflection, again, is that we do understand that we are more than our bodies. We practice in this medium to go to a deeper level. This is our temple, but this really contains our essence, our being, which is an eternal love, eternal presence. And our bodies will change, but that essence of our being will never change. Turn the corners of your mouth up slightly, inviting a smile through your mouth, through your lips. Your teeth are separated, and relax your jaw and your tongue. Soften the muscles around your eyes. And let your skin really just drip down to the floor. You can bring hand to your heart center, two hands to your heart center, just giving yourself an internal namaste, gratitude, and witnessing your own showing up for practice. And gratitude for anyone else who made the practice today possible for you. And may the merit of our practice, the hard work that we do, the humble work that we do, the not forgetting what came behind work that we do, the opening our heart to the world work that we do, may all this work be in service of unveiling the hidden brilliance that lies within us all. Namaste.